Hi, everyone. Welcome into week 3 of our Civil War class for online learning. I wanted to go through a couple different things. The first thing I wanted to share with you is this. I don't tell you this in the first couple battles unless I'm kind of with you at that time, but I didn't really want to spill the beans on it last week, but I'll say this. Those first couple battles, they're not necessarily my cup of tea. Those first couple battles like Fort Sumter and First Bull Run, we have to talk about them because we got to get to some of the better stuff. But Fort Sumter's the first battle. Fort Sumter really sets the stage for everything else. Now we're finally getting into the battles that I really, really enjoy. And so I want to totally get that off my chest and share that with you because I hope that what you see in the near future are discussions that are much more engaging, discussions that have much more meaning than just talking about a battle for what happened during that time in history. And so some of the things we're going to be looking at this week, we're going to start to look into a bit of a character study to see what makes someone successful, what makes the military general successful, what makes any person successful, what also makes somebody unsuccessful, what keeps them from having success in life, and how can they be deficient. So I want us to look into some of kind of the character study, the personality pieces about what makes these people tick and what makes them good or bad at their job. Now, something else too that you're going to get into this week that really hopefully can kind of hit for you is the idea of war being so terrible and so senseless. And I think it's a lesson we really need to encounter here. The more I study the Civil War, the more depressed I kind of got about everything. And I want to try to be real with it and have you understand that despite the fact that it's very intriguing and pretty extraordinary, at the same time, it involves tremendous amounts of death and a whole lot of devastation. And these guys that fought in it, they're never going to be the same. Some of the battles you're going to get into this week, you're going to see how challenging they were, how terrible they were, and how people finally had to confront the realities of war. Now, another piece here too. I'm going to get going big time on Monday and Tuesday this week of giving you feedback on some of the stuff you've done over the last 2 weeks. I know I've done some, but expect some emails from me. Expect your grade from the first 2 weeks. We've been instructed to give you a 4-point grade for what you did in the first 2 weeks. So expect an email from me telling you where you stand, and I also put that grade into Skyward. So I have on the screen here the grading scale that we're going with. Hopefully you understand it. Hopefully you know. Hopefully you've seen this. But a 4, if you get a 4 out of 4, you're exceeding expectations. For me, if you're doing a fantastic job with every response that I give you, you're going to get a 4. Like if you're giving it your best and you did every single assignment, you're going to get a 4 out of 4. But you need to show some really good thought on some of your responses. You're not just going to get a 4 just for like putting down a little sentence. For 3, you've done everything. You've done it well enough. And so you've met my expectations for the different things you're supposed to do, and you'll get a 3 out of 4. But that's pretty good. A 2 is still passing, and that is you're approaching expectations. You've done most of the things. Maybe you could have done them a little better, but altogether, the way that our school is going to handle it right now is a 2 out of 4. If you could pull that off every week, you're still going to pass for this year. Like it's going to be okay, but I'd prefer that you get up in the 3 to 4 area. But if you have a 2 week here and there, it's okay. Now, below that, you're really not engaging very much. I'm not really going to talk about that too much. Hopefully, nobody's going to be in the 0 to 1. But if you're there, I'll communicate with you here, and I'll try to make sure you get back on board. Now, for the week, what we have starting out today, starting out Monday. What we're going to do first is talk about the themes and some of the things we're going to talk about and discuss throughout the class. But also, I want to get into some of the vocabulary you're going to need to truly understand some of the battle discussions. With that, I created a Quizlet set, and you can play some Quizlet games to try to rehearse some of the vocabulary that's going to help you to understand what's happening in this battle, that battle, who's this person, that person, like what is a private, what is a colonel, what exactly is a regiment. And so I want you to get to know some of these terminology pieces that are going to help you to understand some of these battles a little better. On Tuesday, we're going to get into an overall strategy that Winfield Scott started to employ in 1861, the first year of the war, and that's called the Anaconda Plan. And even though he retired in November of 1861, they continued to use it for the rest of the entire Civil War. but no assessment, no Google form on that one. The stuff in the end of the week is really going to be where you're going to give me some feedback. On Wednesday, I have a Nearpod activity, but at the same time, if you like the screencasts, I also recorded a screencast with the Nearpod activity stuff. And so if you'd like to listen to me talk about the Battle of the Ironclads, the battle between two ironclad ships, I produced that, and so that's going to be available to you on Google Classroom as well. On Thursday, we're going to talk about one of my absolute favorite battles. And maybe it's one of my favorites because it's not really all that well known. But the Battle of Shiloh is bloody and terrible, and it's worth talking about. It's really the baptism by fire of Ulysses S. Grant as well. So we get introduced to that legendary general for the Union, Ulysses S. Grant, in the Battle of Shiloh. And then we're going to finish Friday not with another battles discussion, but with a Quizlet set on some of the main leaders, some of the main military and political leaders that you've already been introduced to. And you're going to finish the week with the quizzes set that has to do with the vocabulary terms you learned on Monday, as well as those generals that you've encountered in all the battles so far in the war. So we're just going to do a review session on Friday to see what you've learned so far. Do you know the people? Do you know the terms that you're expected to know? And assessment-wise, you're going to do some feedback questions in the Nearpod for the Ironclads presentation. You're also going to do a Google Forms to finish up the Shiloh battle. And then the quizzes game is going to be your final assessment of the week. Then lastly, if you want to dig deeper, especially in that battle that I consider one of my favorites, the Mises Institute has put out some fantastic podcasts on YouTube, and I put the links there in that Go For It or Challenge Activity section of this overview for the week. So they produce some fantastic material if you want to go check it out. If you want to know more about the Civil War, they have tons of things out there on YouTube. But as far as I'm concerned, what the Mises Institute people, Chris Kautz and the podcaster created is the absolute best. All right, have a good week. I haven't heard from many people on pretty much anything, so if you need something, please, please, please reach out, and I will talk to you soon.